Hey, what's up, guys? Getting in, getting in. Some of my thoughts on this podcast here. Following the semifinals of the Champions League. Sorry, I was a little late. I know the games were about a week or so ago, and but anyways, Inter Milan has advanced to the final, and they'll play PSG, and yeah, so I'm excited about that, as you guys probably been seeing, on Campionato TV. Um, and I know it's going to be another tough game, but they're gonna, I'm hoping they'll win. Um, I think that they deserve to be in the final. I think that they played all the best teams in Europe this year, pretty much. Bayern Munich, Barcelona. They played Arsenal, they played Manchester City. So, yeah, very happy that they're in the final, and hopefully for Serie A they could get to they could win the Champions League, bring it back to Italy, be the first time since 2010. I know it's been a long time, but Serie A clubs have been there. They've been there. Juventus twice, and Inter now this is their second time, so 4 times in the last 15 years. So it's not great, but it isn't awful. I mean, it's tough, especially with the those teams that they have a lot of money and they can buy all these players, and have extra players, for each line, each position, and they have a lot of money, and they could any injuries, they have a player to back them up. So, but anyways, um as you guys saw in some of my a podcast, or a video I put out earlier this week, was there were some people that were criticizing, saying that Barcelona was the better team. Somebody put a comment on one of my videos, and I didn't think of this, but if Barcelona was so much better than Inter, then how come Barcelona trailed the whole tie against Inter except for 6 minutes? You know what I mean? Um, but anyways, nevertheless, we got a final to look forward to, and I'm praying that Inter can get the job done. Um, I really don't know much about PSG, but what I do know is that excuse me. What I do know is that in the group stage, or the table stage of the Champions League, they almost didn't make it to the next round, and they almost were eliminated. I could be wrong, but I don't know that this team has been tested. Um, no, I'm not poo-pooing the English teams they played, but I feel like Inter has been more battle tested than they are. They have been. I mean, let me take a look over here. Um, you know, PSG. I mean, I don't know who they played that has been that great. I mean, they played Arsenal and they lost. They lost to Atletico Madrid. They lost to Bayern Munich. They beat Manchester City. And then, in the round of 16, they beat Liverpool. Then they beat Aston Villa, and they beat Arsenal. I mean, Yeah, I really don't know that this team has been that tested. I mean, they barely made it out of the. And I'm not saying they're not a good team and they don't warrant being there, but hear me out on this. All right, Arsenal, they barely made it out of the table phase, right? And they got to the knockout stage, and I forgot who they played like in the knockout round before the round of 16 and stuff like that. But um, they played some team. They beat them like 10-0 or something like that. I don't even know who it was. But after that, they've played um, only Premier League teams. Yeah, they've played only Premier League teams: Liverpool, Aston Villa, and so I don't know that if say PSG had a you got to ask yourself that if PSG had the same had the if Inter and PSG switched, would a PSG made it to the final if they had to play Feyenoord, Bayern Munich, and Barcelona? I don't know, but that's a good question. I know that the English teams they have they don't have English managers. Liverpool they have Arne Slot. I think he's Dutch or whatever. And then Aston Villa and Arsenal they got Spanish coaches. So man, long day today, but I'm still here. I'm still here. So, but regardless of the fact that they don't have English managers, the team still has an English DNA. And I could be wrong, but usually, when I'm seeing, English team play, it's a high intensity, fast, taking, trying to score goals on long shots, powerful shots, set pieces, stuff like that. And I feel like that plays right into Donnarumma. I really do. I really do. Donnarumma, like, he never lets up any set pieces or penalty kicks or whatever. And I feel like that played into Paris's, favor to get to the final. And anything can happen. I mean, Inter could lose, the ball's round, anything can happen. But all I'm saying is that those guys, they've only played, English teams leading up to the final. And that I think that played into, Donnarumma and that played into their hands. And no, everybody's been saying, "Oh, Liverpool couldn't score against Donnarumma." Aston Villa. Aston Villa almost beat PSG. You know, and I don't think Aston Villa is a good team. I mean, they drew Juventus. Juventus sucks, man. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I predicted that Inter would make it to the final. I said they were going to play against Real Madrid, and then who knows what's going to happen. But maybe this is the time, man. Maybe the football gods said, this is Inter and Serie A's time. I don't know. It's so tough. I don't even know what to say. Because Paris, I mean, I know these guys have been trying to win the Champions League for a long time. They lost against Bayern Munich maybe 5 years ago. I know Inter lost. Serie A teams that they've lost 3 times in a row in the final. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's going to be so tough, but and I'm not going to make any predictions. I'm just giving you guys food for thought on what I'm thinking. In that, I'm not saying Paris doesn't deserve to be in the final, but they've played all English teams, and I feel like the kind of style that those teams play, leads into Donnarumma's, it's an advantage on him. You know what I mean? In order to beat Donnarumma, you got to be smart and clever. And, like, and a perfect example of that is when, Inter played Barcelona, um, in the second tie. DeMarco won the ball in central midfielder, and he sent the ball to, I forgot who it was. It was either Thuram or whoever. But anyways, he sent the ball to Taram or it was to Lautaro, I forgot. And that player that received the ball, he could have took a shot. He could have took a shot. I actually said it to my kids. I said if that was your soccer team, the kid would have took a shot because this kids all they want to do is score a goal for themselves instead of playing the smart ball. And at the highest level, the cross and the easy finish. That's all you need. That's what you need to beat Donnarumma. That's the kind of play you need. This long distance stuff and these hard shots and these free kicks and these corner kicks and this and that. Donnarumma's gonna eat that shit up. He's the best goalie in the world. So that's what I think. I think that Paris Saint-Germain, I think they deserve to be in the final, but I think that that they had a a draw that favored them. And what do you guys think? Do you think if Paris had to play um do you think if Paris if you think if do you think if Paris had to play Feyenoord, Bayern Munich, and Barcelona, would they be in the final of the Champions League? It's a legit question. I don't know. I don't know that they would. Very different styles. I mean, Inter had to adapt to these teams and these different, teams from different nations. And I don't, it's a good question. But anyways, we're planning on having a live stream for the Inter versus Paris Saint Germain final, and let's hope that Inter can get the job done. And like I said, that'd be even greater because we're going to see them in the FIFA Club World Cup in California and Seattle. So I would love nothing more than to see those guys after winning the Champions League final. That would be amazing. Um, yeah. So, anyways, don't forget to subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you think's gonna win the Champions League. Let me know if you think I got a point with this Paris. It's not gonna be an easy game. It's probably 50-50. Could go either way. Um, but we'll see. All right, guys. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.